I'm not gonna lie, I was very close to not making this video this year. I know for a fact 2020 has been difficult for everyone in their own individual ways. Whether it be the virus, personal issues, your own horses, I know I can vouch for that one, or if you're a fellow Australian like myself and were unlucky enough to be in the centre of the fires, then the floods. It just feels like pretty much everything possible has been thrown at us this year. It just felt as though as soon as this year started getting better, the world would just throw something to make it worse again. I said many times throughout this year I just need to give up on the year and not look forward to anything, but I kept trying and I kept getting pushed back down. But I'm not the only one that has had a terrible 2020, and I know that for a fact. But the reason I chose to make this video in the end is despite everything terrible that has happened, there has been plenty of good things. And it's about how you deal with such a heartbreaking year. But yeah, let's just get straight into it with the year starting off absolutely terribly for my fellow Australians.
We're going to turn now to that devastation in Australia, where thousands of firefighters and first responders are battling unprecedented wildfires.
Helena Wong and Justin Cam barely made it out of the fire alive. The skies over parts of their nation turned blood orange. So far, 24 people have been killed. We knew the wildfires in California were huge in 2018. And last year, the fires in the Amazon were even bigger. But since September, the fires here in Australia have already burned more than 2 times those events combined.
The blaze has been hibernating for weeks. In these conditions, it burned with intent. The might of defence outmuscled in the face of this latest threat. This is at Camberwarra, looking towards Kangaroo Valley. The monster crawling up and over the escarpment. A fire so hot and so volatile, it's created its own weather system, sending down ash rain. Urgency was paramount.
Voila, we're gonna go!
Locals grabbed hoses to help the RFS. Everyone and everything just trying to stay alive.
Just felt that southerly. It's come sweeping through here and it's changed the direction of the fire front around here. That fire is now charging north, and Jane, tonight it's heading straight towards properties at Bedella.
Out of control bushfire is right now sending large amounts of smoke into the air in Sydney's southwest. The blaze at Voyager Point flared up yesterday morning as 3 massive infernos threatened to merge, leaving hundreds of residents in danger. Let's go now to Wingello in the New South Wales Southern Highlands, a town that's now virtually unrecognisable. Gabrielle Boyle is there for us this morning. Gabby, take us through the devastation there.
Tracy, good morning. I think it's fair to say that Wingello looks more like a war zone than a leafy country town in New South Wales.
5 in our west, 41 in the city. It's already 18 degrees in Penrith right now. Make sure that you're checking the fires near me up today. Extreme fire danger levels.
Here we are today, preparing for a 40-degree day when we have extreme fire danger. As you can see, we can barely see past this paddock that my horses are in. Fires are getting closer, and it's 6:20 in the morning and we're just surrounded by smoke. And it's already nearly 20 degrees. At this stage we weren't in severe fire danger just yet, so I was lucky enough to go out to Sydney and try a horse I'd been looking at, just desperately wanting to get on her and see if I liked her because I had a feeling that she'd be the one. I'd been looking for about 12 months and this is Bambi. After this ride I knew I wanted her, so I made the decision to get a vet check, and as soon as she passed I bought her. Now, the fires spread really close to our home. We had to evacuate our horses, so here they are at my nan's place, where they would be safe. We hadn't got Bambi home at this stage because of the fire danger. Here they came home, and this was Kai's first lunch back. As you can see, we were in severe drought at this stage as well, hence why the fire danger was so bad. Luckily, even though the fire got close, it did not reach our home. This is when Bambi came home. But yeah, my family had to evacuate. I was in Queensland at the time. It was very terrifying. Now to February, we've started to get a bit of rain, which is why the grass is a little bit more green, and we are out of fire danger now, which was so amazing to not be breathing in smoke anymore. It was a very tough time for everyone in my area. The Southern Highlands really were at risk, with a lot of the towns burning away. Kai was going really well, and here I have my first ride on Bambi since having her come home. And then another devastation for our poor country, the floods. We flooded severely. This is my entrance to work. It was over a metre high and I could not get into work for 3 days. So more rain, of course, but once the floods went down a bit, I was able to go to Pony Club again, and this was Bambi's first outing with me. She'd only ever had one outing prior to this anyway, and she even tried some bending. And she was just a star. It was really tough the start of this year, just with all of the natural disasters, droughts, floods, and fires. So it was nice when things started to go back to normal a bit and to be able to go out again, because everything was cancelled from the fires for obvious reasons, shows, outings of any sorts. So here I have my first lesson on Bambi, and her first time at Sutton Farm in that big indoor. And an exciting thing came up when I found out I actually got nominated for the Sports Award for my local area for the year of 2019. I won it for the month of October for our performance at Nationals, which was so insanely exciting. March, finally shows are back on, and we've now greened up really nicely. So I took Bambi to her first ever show, which was a hack show, Robertson show. She went amazing, and we even got reserve champion in my rider class, as well as bringing home many more ribbons, and she was just so well behaved. She really blew me away and showed me how quiet she is for such a green, young, inexperienced horse. On to April, Kai's really improving with his flat work. I'm starting to, as well as doing all the long and low, bring his frame up a bit to that dressage-y type of frame, more collected. I didn't work him in this frame for a while just because he was young and I wanted to get him strong through his top line, but he was finally at a stage where I could start lifting him up a little bit more, and he just went really well. Here we have some more schooling of Bambi at home. I'm starting to get more of a feel for her, as well as training some elementary stuff, which she had never done before. This horse couldn't even canter a full circle or canter on the correct leg without disuniting when I got her, and she just improved so quickly. And she's such a smart horse that we were just able to start laterals pretty quick, which was really nice because she's just so intelligent and picks things up really quickly. And here we have her first walk to canters that I was trying. I was blown away with how well she did at these, because there was something I really struggled with Jep, and she just was like, yeah, okay, I getcha, I'm with you. And here is some training with Jep. At this stage, I was training hard towards the 2020 Young Rider Dressage Nationals, which would have been my last Young Rider Nationals because I would be turning 21 at the end of this year. I was training really hard, knowing that we'd already actually qualified the year before, because Jep just is a super pony and we were easily qualified, and that was my plan, to have that be her last competition before retiring her, just to have her retire happy, sound, and at her absolute peak. However, I didn't know what the year had ahead for us. Now we are on to May. Bambi and I have been training really hard, and I'm really working on slowing down her trot, refining those elementary work, laterals, and she's just absolutely super. Just getting her stronger. She was a very weak horse in her frame when I got her, and as well as her transitions, but she was improving so much. Her canter was really a weak point as well, so we were focusing on introducing smaller circles, which she really struggled with at this stage, but she was just trying her absolute hardest. This was also when Corona started being a real issue in Australia. Finding out that it had spread to our country and how badly it had spread, I made the decision to retire Jep this year after hearing that Youth Nationals had been cancelled. There was no point to keep her in full competition work for a whole year to just maybe do a couple competitions in 2021 before retiring her. So I changed up her workload. I put her in a bitless bridle as she works really nicely bitless. It's something I would have done prior if I was allowed to compete bitless with her, but I wasn't. So here I'm just having fun with her. She's semi-retired now, and I just kind of ride her when I feel like it. After contemplating it for a while, I finally made the tough decision to put Kai up for sale. In under a week, he had sold. The second person that viewed him absolutely fell in love with him. He is living the life I dreamt him to have. He's on a 100-acre property where he roams with a large herd of horses. He does trails, cattle work, and will hopefully be starting team sorting. He is doing exactly what I wanted him to be doing, and he's so happy. I'm just so glad he found this home. June started off with Jep coming back to my property after Kai sold. Bambi and Jep just love each other so much. This was the first time they'd actually been paddocked together, and as you can see, this is before riding them both, and they're just loving each other, grooming away. Jep was loving just enjoying little simple things in life rather than being in full competition work. Bambi is off to Pony Club again and just improving every outing, getting less tense every time she goes out. It was really, really nice to see. This was also the first time I ever jumped Bambi, and Bambi's first time jumping. Very over the top, but I couldn't expect anything less from this horse. She tried her absolute heart out and jumped everything after being a bit concerned about a few of them. I was also given the amazing opportunity to start working for the FEI. This was the first video I've ever made for them, and there'll be many more to come in the next year. I still can't believe I was lucky enough to be given this opportunity to make videos for the FEI, and to be posted on their YouTube and Instagram, Facebook pages was just unreal. I'm so blessed and never thought I'd see the day when the FEI would approach me to do work for them. Of course, both girls had to be in the video, and if you haven't seen it already, I really recommend checking it out. I'm quite proud of this video. Jeppy. And in lieu of Jep changing her work up a bit, I tried to give team sorting a go, thinking because she loved sporting that she'd be good at it and she'd enjoyed it. She was terrified of the cows, so after trying a few rounds, I decided to get on some of my friends' stock horses, and I had an absolute ball on them. And yeah, that's when we realised that team sorting is the only thing Jep isn't good at. Then July hit, and this was when my year began to fall apart. Well, that's what it felt like to me anyway. Bambi had a very unfortunate injury when I was lunging her at my neighbour's place. Something spooked her. She bolted and got stuck under a tree, panicked, and then went through a barbed wire fence, getting tangled up and causing injuries to both her front legs. She was on box rest for a month, and I tried to make the most out of this situation. I really spent all my time with her in the box, whether it just be cuddling her, grooming her, or just sitting there, and I would literally sit there and talk to her for hours. I probably would look like a crazy person to most people, but this really helped our relationship. We grew so much, and it really helped our relationship under saddle. I was absolutely miserable at this stage in my life, and even thinking about it now makes me emotional because it was just really tough, but after sulking about it for a while, this is how I decided to spend it. And I'm really glad I was able to see the positives in such a rough situation. She was out of work for a little over 2 months, which was actually not as long as she was expected to be out, considering she had to have 7 stitches. She healed like a superstar. This was the first time she got to go out of the box. She was very excited after being in box rest for just under a month, and she stacked it, but she was fine. August hit, and we were able to get back into things. This is actually the end of August. Nothing else happened throughout that time. This was her first ride back, and she was just a superstar. Came back like she'd never had that time off. It was just absolutely insane. So it was actually a little under 2 months then she had off for this injury. I was so happy with how well she came back, and it felt like we hadn't missed anything. I then moved Bambi and Jep to a lady's property who I help with her racehorses from time to time. I do a little bit of work for her and her horses, and our place had gotten really waterlogged from a lot of rain, and she said that I could keep my horses there. This was an amazing opportunity as I wasn't having to pay adjustment or feed them or anything. She did all of that for me just because she was so kind. And I was also able to use this arena whenever I wanted to, which was her neighbours. It's just absolutely, I still count myself lucky for this amazing opportunity to be able to have my horses there whenever I feel and have them looked after. Then we got to September and things started to go downhill again. They're still at this property and I'm showing you the yard that they're in because of Bambi's new injury. I'm not going to show you the gory pictures, but there are videos on my channel from both her injuries. She overreached in the paddock, we believe. We are not positive, but going by the blood and the fact that there was no damage anywhere, she'd overreached from playing over the fence with the other horses or something. She was very, very lucky. She took off the bulb of her heel. Luckily didn't hit any tendons, but did get 2 arteries. So she was out of work yet again. The lady who owns the property where they were at this stage offered me this beautiful thoroughbred mare, Isabel. At first I said no, but then when Bambi injured herself and the lady just saying, like, if you don't want her, you know, if it doesn't work out, I'm happy to take her back, I took up the opportunity to get another horse. Isabel was given to me for free straight after she came off the track. So a day after her last race, she came to this property and I just started doing little things like grooming. I quickly noticed that this horse was very, very nervous around people and very uncertain about me and anyone that would be with me. She was nervy and just very unsure about every situation, was not very trusting. I put her in a yard next to Jep and Bambi to slowly get used to them as she was going to be paddocked with them. This is me trying to deal with her head shyness. As you can see, she was very, very head shy. I could not touch her face when I first got her. I actually could not groom her either. She was terrified of me touching her in any shape or form. Especially her ears. She did not like her ears being touched. I also put her on ulcer preventative as a lot of off the tracks, when they come straight off the track, are prone to getting ulcers. So this just prevents them if they were to come on. Then October hit and I was house sitting for an old boss at this spectacular property. I also took Bambi with me just so I could keep her under my watchful eye the whole entire time, because she loved taking bandages off and just making things a lot harder than they needed to be. As you can see, she's feeling great. She's completely sound. She was not lame at all throughout either of her injuries, which was insane. It just shows how high her pain tolerance is. As you can see with Izzy, I'm making heaps of progress. She quickly realised that when I was going to touch her face, I was not going to hurt her. And I was able to touch her ears, rub her face all over, and you can see her lowering her head and she's just much more relaxed. It was such a nice change, and it's crazy how something so small can make you feel so happy just because a horse is finally letting you touch her face. Like, this was such a big moment for me, and working with Izzy throughout the time of Bambi's injury really helped me and gave me something to feel happy about and look forward to. November hit and Bambi is back and feeling her absolute best yet again. My trainer says it and I agree. Every time she comes back from an injury, she comes back better than ever. The breaks do her a world of good, and each time she just comes back even stronger and feeling better. She also filled out quite a lot throughout this time. She grew, as you can see, she widened out quite a bit, and she almost looks like a different horse. She put on more weight, which was needed. She just looks really, really strong, and I was so happy that she was able to come back so well. She was out for longer on this injury, and it's crazy how throughout that time it literally didn't feel like I missed any work. She felt like she'd maybe lost a little bit of strength in some of the canter work and like the smaller circles, but other than that, she just felt like she'd never had a day off. And she never gave me any grief coming back. She is so quiet and just made everything a breeze. This was also our second ever competition. We did Camden dressage, which was very eventful, as you can see. Jumped out of the arena in our first test. She was very tense this day and just didn't perform to her best, as expected. This was her first time ever in a dressage arena, but she went really well. Apart from being eliminated in the first test, she actually came second in the second test, which was insane. We then also attended Sutton for a show, which was another hacking show. Bambi really proved herself to me this day. She was working exactly how she works at home. She was so relaxed. This was only 2 weeks later from Camden. She was not tense. She went around like she'd done this her whole entire life and been doing it for years. She was just absolutely amazing and brought home many, many ribbons. December hits and I've brought Izzy and Bambi home. Izzy had had a big break as well. I'd given her a break for a while just from me, and I was starting to introduce grooming to her again. Here is me riding Tani, who was a pony that I actually did a clinic on that my friend was nice enough to lend for me, and also doing my first PF. Yeah, doing a clinic on because Bambi, yet again, was out, but this time just for a foot abscess, so luckily nothing major. Just from her injury, it made her hoof weaker, which was why she got the abscess, but that was only quick. Anyway, here's the Rider Biomechanics clinic. This clinic was absolutely amazing, and I'm going to be doing many more. I have an issue with my left hip from dance that causes me to collapse my body, and I was able to get heaps of helpful exercises from this clinic, and it just really improved my riding. Thank you, Jen and Phoebe, for lending Tani to me. She was an absolute pleasure, and it was so good to be able to do this clinic. Now that Izzy has had 3 months off after her racing career, I've decided to bring her into work and just start lightly lunging her. As you can see, I'm going over her face and just showing how good she is with her face, as I repeat that every time I work with her, just so she remembers that I'm not going to hurt her. She's also really happy with being sprayed now, which when I first tried to spray her, she literally bolted on me twice. But after quickly realizing that there was nothing wrong with it, she's now happy with the sprays again. She lunged like a dream and gave me no issues, which was absolutely awesome to see. She's done everything perfectly coming back into work and has just proved to be such a smart, quiet girl. So I hope you guys somewhat enjoyed or were interested in how my year played out. The main thing I've taken away from this year and with everything that has happened is that you need to be surrounding yourself with people you love and things that you love doing. If you're not in love with your job, if you don't love riding horses, why do you do it? If you're just riding horses because you want to go out and compete and you want that ribbon, why are you doing it? Do you really love the horse, or do you just love competing? Because you need to be in it for more than just the ribbon and more than the title. Last year, as you guys knew, for me was a massive year competitively and a very successful year competitively. This year I got out to 2 competitions and that was it. I was not riding for what felt like half the year. I was dealing with a horse on box rest, re-bandaging injuries, and I was in a terrible place at first, but it really showed me how much I love horses, because I didn't miss riding. I missed riding Bambi because I just love her, but I wasn't struggling immensely with not riding. I didn't feel the need to go out and ride another horse. That's not how I felt at all. I was happy spending the time that would have been spent riding Bambi just being with her, and that was enough for me. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that are just in it for the ribbon, and if your horse got injured, they wouldn't want to spend the extra time with them, whether it be rebandaging bandages every few days or just sitting with them for hours on end grooming in the boxes while they're on box rest. If you don't want to do that, then why do you own a horse? Because you've got to be in it at the end of the day for the horse, and if you're not in it for the horse, then you shouldn't be doing it. As much as I love competing, that's not why I ride. That's not why I own horses. I own horses because I love them. And if tomorrow Bambi had some career-ending injury, God forbid, touch wood, but if that was to happen, I wouldn't sell her. I wouldn't give her away. She'd stay with me because I love her. It's like Jep. Jep's retired, not because she is injured or unsound, but because I owed her that. She did so much for me, more than any other horse could ever have done for me, especially being my first pony, giving me a national title, as well as so many other achievements that would take too long to mention. She gave me the world, and I wasn't going to push her until she had to retire because of an injury or because of arthritis. So I retired her completely sound. And that's the best decision I've ever made. And a lot of people would have kept going with a pony like her because she just keeps going, and because she never had an issue. She never saw the vet. She is just a super pony and probably could have easily kept going competing into her 30s. But she's 25 and I don't want to push her until she breaks. This way she can live out her life happily without any issues, and that's all I could ever want for her. I think 2020 has really taught all of us something big in your own way. You need to be spending your time doing what you love and doing what makes you happy. Because if it doesn't make you happy, then why are you doing it? I hope you guys enjoyed this year in review, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.